Australia, land of the kangaroos, koalas, stubby holders, eskies and beetroot? Yes, indeed. Australians love their beetroot. They put it in and on everything. Burgers, sandwiches, salad, in chips, even in beer. It made me think, is this just an unusual obsession with this particular vegetable? Or do Aussies know more? Let's grab a cup of coffee, or should we rather use beet juice? And look at the science behind beetroot. Hello there, and welcome back to my channel. Today we want to look at a rather bloody type of vegetable. Beetroot. On this side of the planet you will find beetroot everywhere, and for people like me who were never quite sure if beetroot should even be declared as edible, this raises some questions. But let's start with some basics. Nutritional value. First of all, when we talk about beetroot, most of us talk about the dark red inky specimens. Let's not forget about the other options though. They are yellow beetroots, also known as golden beets, who tend to be less sweet than the red ones and almost carrot-like in flavor. And there are also candy striped beets, which look very pretty. They do form an even pink when cooked though and lose their beautiful concentric circles. Not to forget white beets, which don't even seem real. Anyway, back to the blood red beetroot. Their color comes from a class of pigments called betalains. These are closely related to anthocyanins, which are the blue pigments that color red cabbage and blueberries. The physiological functions of betalains in plants and vegetables is not completely clear, although recent studies suggest they may have fungicidal properties. If you have never had raw beetroot, their taste is often described by the word earthy. The molecule that gives beetroot this earthy flavor is called geosmin. Geosmin is an organic compound produced by microbes in the soil, and it smells like freshly plowed soil after a rainstorm. So if a beetroot hater out there, and we all know there are lots of them, me included, tells you they don't like beetroot because it tastes like dirt to them, then you can tell them that that's largely accurate. However, if geosmin finds itself in acidic conditions, like in pickled beetroot or in a salad with vinaigrette, it converts to an odorless compound and the beetroot loses its earthy flavor for good. The other flavor beetroots deliver without a doubt is sweetness. And no wonder, they are jam-packed with sugar. The standard red beetroot has on average about 7 to 8 grams sugar per 100 grams, while special bread plants like sugar beets can have up to 20% sucrose content by weight. Sugar beets, apart from sugar canes, are the main contributor to the reason why sugar prices dropped massively around the 1850s, making it available to the masses. Using sugar beets for sugar production became so important that to this day it decorates many sugar industry logos. Anyway, back to the pigments. Betalains do not only color beetroot and your knife, chopping board, fingers and literally everything else that comes in contact with beets. They also contribute to a lot of health benefits that are attributed with having beetroots in your diet. Health benefits. Beetroot is a powerful dietary source of health-promoting agents that hold potential for therapeutic treatment of a multitude of pathological disorders. Several in vitro and in vivo human and animal studies have shown the powerful antioxidant, anti-inflammatory and vascular protective effects of beetroot and its constituents. Red beetroots are rich in polyphenols, antioxidants, carotenoids, flavonoids, minerals like calcium, potassium, magnesium, phosphorus, iron, sodium and zinc, and vitamins such as vitamin A, C and K, as well as B1, 2, 3, 5, 6 and 9. The before mentioned betalain pigments, for example, act as free radical scavengers and prevent inflammatory processes. Generally, studies show that beetroot reduces blood pressure, attenuates inflammation, averts oxidative stress, and preserves endothelial functions, as well as shows chemopreventative activity. It is also a great source of fiber for the body. Recent studies have provided compelling evidence that beetroot ingestion offers beneficial physiological effects that may translate to improved clinical outcomes for several pathologies, such as hypertension, atherosclerosis, type 2 diabetes, and dementia. For athletes, the most important benefit of beetroot is the amount of dietary nitrate it contains, as red beetroot becomes more and more popular as supplement for endurance performance. Let's have a look at this in a bit more detail. Endurance performance enhancer. Red beetroots are very high in nitrate. When we eat red beetroot, around 25% of the dietary nitrate is reduced by bacteria and microorganisms in our mouth to nitrite. This nitrite is then partially reduced to nitric oxide through the activity in our stomach acid, which gets later absorbed in the gut. Some of the nitrite gets into the bloodstream, and under conditions of hypoxia, so when not enough oxygen is available, will be converted and used as nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is a vasodilator, so a substance that relaxes the inner muscles of our blood vessels and causes them to widen. As a result, blood flows more easily through these vessels and our heart doesn't have to pump as hard, reducing our blood pressure. When our muscles move, we use up oxygen. Nitrate also has the handy property of reducing the amount of oxygen we use in our muscles. Basically, this means beetroot juice is making us more efficient. If only that would work for work and studying too, hey? Anyway, back to the performance boost. This found property of performance enhancing opens up some questions. Does it always work for everyone? Not really. The research on the influence of beetroot on the exercise performance is still ongoing and has so far mixed results. The majority of studies show the outcome that beetroot juice supplementation works better in recreational athletes than in trained high-performance athletes, and the dose also plays a role here. In terms of the intensity of the sport event, the harder and shorter the better when it comes to the impact of beetroot. How much should you take? The acceptable daily intake, ADI, set by the European Food Safety Authority for nitrate is 3.7 milligrams per kilogram. This equates to around 260 milligrams per day for a 70 kilo adult. The World Health Organization, WHO, first set an upper limit of nitrate in food in 1962, derived from studies that showed that a daily intake of around 500 milligrams sodium nitrate per kilogram body weight has been found to be harmless in rats and dogs. This figure divided by 100 resulted in an ADI for humans of around 5 milligrams sodium nitrate, which is about 3.7 milligrams nitrate per kilogram body weight. A figure that has stood ever since. The mean nitrate content per beetroot is around 1.5 gram per kilogram. To see an effect on exercise performance, researchers looked at a daily amount of beetroot juice intake of around 1 to 2 cups, so between 250 and 500 milliliters. If you would like to try it yourself but can't stomach that high amount of blood-colored juice, you can also find it as beetroot shots and as beetroot powder, which has a similar nutritional value. Now the final question is, when should you take the beetroot juice? Right before the exercise or as so-called preloading a few days in the lead up to the sports event? Studies showed the best results for preloading the day prior to the event, so for example a dose at lunch and dinner and then another dose on the day of the event around 3 hours before the start. So to get the optimum performance results, best to take it within 24 hours. In terms of health aspects, however, with regard to beetroot, it seems the recommendation is the more the better. And looking at endurance performance, the best results were found when combining beetroot juice supplementation with a shot of caffeine. For more info on the benefit of caffeine on performance and health, watch my video about coffee. I'll link it in the show card up here. A word of warning. If you now decided that after watching this video, beetroots are going to feature a lot more in your diet, I feel like a word of warning is necessary. The red pigments we heard so many good things about earlier also seem to be small enough to pass through the filtering mechanism of our kidneys. This means if you digest beetroot, it has the ability to literally color your pee and poo blood red. And that can be quite surprising if you've never had that happening before in your life. This effect becomes even more pronounced directly after exercise, when your body is dehydrated. The pigments basically become more concentrated in your pee, coloring it almost to the color of blood. Also, when you're taking in a really high amount of beetroot, it can even go as far as coloring your sweat as well. What is your preferred way of eating beetroot? As slices on a burger or sandwich? Pickled or in a salad? As crispy seasoned chips? Or is it in beer? Either way, it seems to be a good idea to consume more of it, no matter in which way, for a good cardiovascular health. If you have any other supplements you want me to look into the science of, let me know. Otherwise, as always, leave me a big thumbs up because it really supports my channel, and click the subscribe button down below if you haven't done that yet. And I will see you again in 2 weeks. Until then, stay sciencey.